Hey friends, welcome to Gun 1776. Been working on a few new videos this week, and earlier in the week I put out a 10 things to plan for in the coming days and weeks. I've also been reviewing some new guns, gear, and EDC items that I use and carry on an everyday basis and that hopefully you too will find interesting. But before I go through today's topic, please help me out and like, subscribe, and comment on the videos so I can fine-tune both the video and the reviews to be a little more interesting for the viewers. So today I wanted to follow up on that earlier video and discuss how to go about getting a Florida concealed weapons license. So this video is going to be specific to Florida, but having lived in several states, lived in Florida, Texas, West Virginia, New York, and New Jersey, and really the process in the free states are very similar. Both Texas and Florida are a shall issue state, and as long as you can legally own a firearm, you should really have no issue. Now, if you live in a non-2A friendly state, the process is going to be much different and much more complicated. To give you an example, when I was in New York about 20 years ago, it was a 6 to 9 month process, and it was filled with all sorts of obstacles to eliminate people from getting the permit. So let's not even talk about New Jersey. Unless you're really a law enforcement officer, forget about trying to get the permit there. You're really behind enemy lines. New Jersey is probably one of the worst states for it. And really, it'd be easier to sell your house, find a new job, and move to a 2A friendly state than to get a concealed permit in New Jersey. So let's talk about the process here in Florida and how easy it is. So now let's talk about how to go about getting your Florida concealed weapons license. So first off, there's minimum eligibility requirements. The first is you must be at least 21 years of age. The next one is you must be a U.S. citizen. There is a residency requirement, and that residency requirement can either be in-state or out of state. And what's kind of cool is it gives non-Florida residents the ability to get that concealed weapons license and give you reciprocity to other states. The third thing is you must be able to complete a certified firearms training course. And the last thing that you need before you start applying to this is you must not have a disqualifying criminal record or other condition that would make you ineligible for the license. And it's very similar, really the same logic as buying an actual firearm. So the steps are you go online to the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, and I'll include a link in the description below. And you fill out the application, and with that application, you create an online portal for yourself. Once you do that, there are 17 questions that you need to answer. And again, very similar to when you're purchasing a firearm. They're, yes or no, really, do you denounce your citizenship, that type of a questionnaire. Once you create that, then you can kind of move on to the next step, which is getting your firearms training class. You need to take and receive a certificate of completion from a registered firearms class. And you can go online, do a quick Google search. There are online classes now with COVID, and they range about $30. Or you can do in-person. A lot of the gun stores and gun facilities around have in-person training, in-person classes. I've done both. The online course is about $30. The in-person classes, you can go on Groupon, or you can find them in different areas. They're anywhere between like $60 and $85. And depending on your familiarity with firearms, I would steer new shooters and new people into the 2A community to the in-person classes where they can ask questions and they can be a little more comfortable with it. Those people that have had experience or concealed weapons licenses in other states and are moving into Florida, the online class is good for them. Now, to talk about me, I've taken an in-person class in Texas and I thought it was great. I've taken an online class now in Florida. Again, for me, I thought that was good. I'm going to stress the importance of when you take either an in-person or an online class for these, pay attention to what the rules are, where you can carry, how you can carry, where you need to stay out of, because these are the things that are going to trip you up. If you get pulled over by the police, what do? Are there rules and regulations around it? Be very specific and understand where can I carry, where can I not carry. Like here in Florida, you cannot carry on school grounds. That's different than in Texas. In Texas, it was you can carry on school grounds, but you can't go into the building. Where in Florida now, it's you can't even carry on the grounds. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to, drinking establishments. Where can I go? What part of the restaurant, if they serve alcohol, can I sit at the bar? Can I not sit at the bar? These are the things that you really need to understand, because this is what's going to get you in trouble with the firearm laws. So out of this whole process, I'm going to say pay the most attention to the class and what rules and laws are around it. Can you carry in the car? Can you carry in airports? Just take notes and really digest that. The safe firearm handling and all, that's great if you're a new shooter. Pay attention to that. Know your firearms, know the different types of firearms. But the biggest thing that I would say is take notes and be very specific and very, very thorough with understanding on where, how, and your carry laws. Because if there's an incident, that's part of what you're going to get jammed up on. So understand that, understand the use of force issues in the state, stand your ground, and get a real good understanding. Before you leave that class and you're paying the money to the instructor, make sure you thoroughly understand that. If you don't, ask questions to them. So either way, online class or in person, it really depends on what your familiarity are with firearms. And, if you've had permits before, don't just rush to do whatever's the quickest and easiest thing for you. This is the area that you want to spend some time on. So once you have that certificate of completion, the next thing is, like everything else, you need a digital passport photo. You can take them at home. You can do, go to the post office. There's a number of different places that you get that, but you need that to go on your permit. So once you have your photo and all your documents, you can download them to your computer, then go back into that portal that you created initially and upload that online. And once you do that, you have to pay for the initial licensing fee portion of it. And at that point, you can either use a credit card, debit card, whatever you want. And the cost here in Florida, as of recording this video, is $55. So once you do that, then you can move to the next step, which would be scheduling the fingerprinting. So you schedule the fingerprinting with the Division of Licensing Regional Services. Again, I'm going to include the link below to see what is the closest office. And all I did was I gave them a quick call, found out what days and times they were available, and you have to make an appointment with them because you have to go in and get fingerprinted. So when you go to get fingerprinted, if you've ever done it before, it's super easy. It's all an electronic process. But what I'm going to say to you is bring your paperwork. And where I made the mistake was make sure you bring either a bank or cashier's check, since they don't accept cash, credit card, debit cards. And, I wound up getting there and then I had to run out. I called ahead of time. They said the agent that I spoke to said they took credit and debit cards. But when I actually got there, I wound up having to run out, find a bank, and then get a bank check for it and then come back. So it was a little bit of a hassle. So I'm just going to kind of throw that out to you. And the fingerprinting fee is $42. So all in all, the cost for it is $55 for the licensing fee, $42 for the fingerprinting, and really depending on the class you're going to take, could range anywhere from $30 to $85. So, really as little as $127, you can have the whole process taken care of. And once you submit everything, really, once you go and get your fingerprinting and they have everything there, they submit it to Tallahassee for processing. And from that point of submitting the documents and all the paperwork, they have 90 days after the receipt of that complete application to either issue the license or deny the application. So I received mine back probably in about 75 days. And, that was even during COVID. So they're pretty good with it. It's not something that you're going to drag on for 6 to 9 months. And, the cost of it, really not a bad thing to do. One other thing that I would want to bring up with this is if you're serious about carrying, before you get that carry license, look into some concealed carry law coverage. I had it when I was in Texas. It was a big thing that they push on the on the in-person classes. And when I was in class, I didn't take advantage of it. But then as I started carrying, and the more I thought about it, it's not a bad insurance. You have insurance for your car, for your house, for all sorts of different life insurance. It's not a bad thing to think about. So what I do is I use US Law Shield, and this isn't paid for them or anything. They don't give me anything for it. And it's fairly cheap. It's $10.95 a month. And what it covers is it gives you 24/7, 365 attorney answered hotline. They give you a non-emergency access number to call if you have any questions on, how should I carry? Can I carry here? If there's any gray area, you can call and speak to their attorney. And it gives you unlimited civil and criminal defense litigation. God forbid you ever to use your firearm. It's going to be a ridiculous cost. And, at that point, you don't want to be, when you're sitting there on the side of the road and, the police are there, you don't want to start to figure out, well, who do I call? Who represents? And you certainly don't want to be making statements to them, hoping to figure it out later. So I figured for $10.95 a month, it was cheap insurance. It's a couple cups of coffee. It's one lunch out of the month that you can forego, and it pays for itself. And hopefully it's not an expense that you'll ever need. But for me, whether or not it's going to be this greatest thing, and it certainly doesn't hurt. It gives you the assurance that if there was something that happened, that there would be people that would be able to help you out. There's an 800 number that you can call, and you can get advice, you can get help, you can get people in case you really ever do need that firearm that you're carrying. So in closing, I'm just going to say to you that the process really is easy, straightforward, and as long as you're a legal gun owner, you should have no problem to complete the whole process. Now, by the time you go and sign up, take your class, submit all your paperwork, do your fingerprinting and submit that paperwork, it's probably going to be a 3 to 4 month process. I mean, they have 90 days to give you an answer on it. But, let's go to the full 90 days and, it's going to take you a couple months. So it's really not a bad thing to be preparing for now. And even if you don't have a firearm, or you're not into carrying, and, you're just looking for something for self-defense at home, it's not a bad thing. It's fairly cheap. For under $130, you can get the whole thing, set up and go. And it's good for a number of years. You don't have to renew it. You do have to renew it after it expires. I think it's 7 years, but it's not a bad thing to have. I would strongly suggest, if you do have it, to practice and carry on a regular basis. But it's not a bad thing. Go about doing it now, because you really would. It's really a good thing to have in your back pocket. So thank you for taking time to watch the video. And if you could, again, please like, subscribe, and comment. And I'm going to work to put out weekly, or a couple videos each week on some 2A opinions, some gear, some gun reviews, and kind of help out people like me and kind of stay in contact with the 2A community. With the whole way the world is going right now, it's nice to be able to have a voice and be able to get out some of our thoughts and share some of the feelings with some of the people in the community. So hopefully this channel will grow. It's an experiment, you never know, but it's enjoyable for me to kind of get my viewpoints out to the world. And hopefully if 1 or 2 people can take some help out of this and helps them along, great. And I've really enjoyed doing these.